Wednesday is quiet. At first glance, it almost feels like nothing happens. No triumphant entry. No overturned tables. No public teaching in the temple. But don't let the silence fool you. Holy Wednesday is the day that sealed the betrayal. In the stillness of this day, decisions were made that would change eternity. The Gospels tell us that while Jesus remained in Bethany, Judas Iscariot went to the chief priests. Matthew 26 verses 14 to 16 says, "Then one of the 12, the one called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and asked, 'What are you willing to give me if I deliver him over to you?' The answer, 30 pieces of silver, a cheap price for the Savior of the world. But betrayal is never about money, it's about the heart. Judas walked with Jesus, witnessed the miracles, heard the teachings. He saw blind eyes opened, storms stilled, and tombs emptied. And still, something in his heart remained closed. We all want to believe we're nothing like Judas. But Holy Wednesday calls us to ask the hard questions. Are there parts of my heart where I still hold back from Jesus? Where self-interest speaks louder than love? Because betrayal doesn't always look like a dramatic moment. It can come quietly, wrapped in disappointment, pride, or control. At the same time, something beautiful was happening just outside Jerusalem. While Judas was planning betrayal, a woman was pouring out extravagant worship. In Matthew 26 verses 6 to 7 we read, "While Jesus was in Bethany, a woman came to him with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume, which she poured on his head as he was reclining at the table. The room was filled with the scent of sacrifice. The disciples were indignant. 'Why this waste?' they asked. But Jesus saw her heart. He said, 'She has done a beautiful thing to me.'" On this same Wednesday, two hearts are revealed. One calculates value. The other gives without counting the cost. One hides in shadows. The other kneels in the light. Holy Wednesday reveals a contrast that echoes through time. Will we withhold, or will we pour out everything we have? The perfume in that jar could have funded a future. But in her heart, Jesus was the future. So she broke it. Not carefully opened, broken. She didn't intend to save any of it. She didn't plan to give a portion. It was all or nothing. That's what true worship looks like. Not convenience, but surrender. This woman, unnamed in some Gospels, is remembered forever because of this act. Jesus said in verse 13, "Wherever this gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her." What she did on Wednesday is still rippling across history. Not because of status or strategy, but because of a heart fully alive in love. What if the most lasting things you do are not the loudest or the most praised, but the quiet acts of obedience done in love? She came unnoticed. She left unforgettable. And she didn't wait for permission to worship. She responded to the presence of Jesus. That's what makes this day so powerful. While betrayal was being plotted in secret, worship was being poured out in the open. The world sees influence. Heaven sees intimacy. People look for power. Jesus looks for the one who kneels. Which voice will we follow? Will we rush past these moments like Judas, looking for a better deal? Or will we fall at his feet like this woman, knowing he's worth everything? The contrast of Holy Wednesday is not just historical. It's personal. Every day, we stand between betrayal and worship, between self and surrender. And Jesus, he knew it all. He knew Judas was plotting. He knew his death was near. Yet he stayed at the table. He stayed present. He let the woman anoint him, even though it was preparing him for burial. He didn't run. He received. There's something sacred about staying present in the face of pain. So often, when we sense betrayal, we recoil. When we anticipate suffering, we avoid it. But Jesus doesn't hide from what's coming. He walks toward it. Isaiah 50 verse 7 says, "Because the sovereign Lord helps me, I will not be disgraced. Therefore I have set my face like flint. Flint is unshakable, determined, strong." Jesus didn't just drift into Good Friday, he chose it. And he chose it for love. On Wednesday, he allowed himself to be anointed for death, not as a victim, but as a willing sacrifice. John 10 verse 18 reminds us, "No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord." That's the Jesus we follow. Not a tragic figure, but a victorious Savior. He embraced the silence of Wednesday not because he was passive, but because he was preparing. Sometimes God does his greatest work in stillness. So what does Holy Wednesday invite us into? Stillness, reflection, honesty. Are there areas in our lives where we're withholding our worship, our obedience, our trust? Are we chasing silver when we're already sitting at the table with the Savior? The story of Judas is a warning. The story of the woman is a calling. We can choose which one we follow. There's a moment in Psalm 139 where David prays, "Search me, God, and know my heart. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." That's the prayer of Holy Wednesday. Not flashy, but faithful. Not loud, but lasting. Take time today to pause, to break the jar, to pour it all out again, even when no one's watching, even when no one understands. The scent of worship still rises, and Jesus still sees. This is not just the calm before the storm. It is the calm that transforms. On the eve of betrayal, Jesus received the gift of brokenness and gave back a promise. She has done a beautiful thing. May our lives echo those words. May we choose love in the silence, faith in the waiting, and worship that costs us everything.